Let's talk a little bit more about this with CNN legal analyst Paul Callan, along with Laura Coates. She's a former trial attorney for the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Paul, what do you suppose will happen today?
Well, I'm very surprised that the talk is that maybe he loses his job so quickly. Usually when it's a public employee involved, there's sort of a due process hearing, extensive process that goes on. You may be suspended while the investigation continues. But I must say the film here seems to so clearly depict a use of excessive force that I suspect in the end he will be facing either termination or at least a lengthy suspension and discipline.
Laura, people who are standing up for this officer say the student in question, the 16-year-old girl, punched the officer in the chest. She used her fist. Does that justify what the officer then did in your mind?
Absolutely not. And as a prosecutor, the significant time lapse between the time that she allegedly punches the officer and what we actually see of the video does not suggest in any way that her actions, if she even punched him, provoked the extent of that particular assault. Remember, police officers are required to do what is right under civil rights law and the Constitution. And just because it happens in a school does not mean the officers can now take liberty with excessive force. An officer can only repel with the force they are actually confronted with. Here in the video, this young girl, if she does, and I don't actually see a clear shot of her punching the officer, he doesn't respond to it or react physically to it. This is an indication where he took liberties, and it is excessive force, and being in a school does not change that.
Yeah, well, supposedly there's this third videotape out there that shows that. We have yet to see that, though. Maybe we will today when the sheriff comes out and talks about this case. But, Paul, the officer said he was using muscling techniques. What exactly are muscling techniques?
Well, you know, he's a strength training coach. He's for the football team, and he's an assistant coach at the football team. And, you know, I'm sure he's he's referring to some kind of it's a leverage move, I think, in wrestling, where you're trying to muscle somebody to get them off balance. And I suspect he'll come forward and probably say he wasn't trying to tip the seat over and the desk over. That was an accident, and what followed arose from that, as opposed to an excessive use of force. And I think, to be fair to the officer, the school authorities bear some responsibility here, too. Yes. You know, I think there's a tendency now to call in the cops way too soon in cases where, all right, you've got a student who should know better and should have turned the phone over, but is it time to call in the police? I mean, I think school authorities should have dealt with this in a much more measured way before they escalated to police authority.
You know, I completely agree.
Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I completely agree. The idea that this has turned into a school discipline problem, turning into a criminal matter, to have the officer come in and do this action was unwarranted. But the school district should also be fearful of a lawsuit, because there was, I understand, the assistant principal was present and a teacher who were there. They should prepare themselves for an intentional infliction of emotional distress claim at the very least.
All right, I have to leave it there. Laura Coates, Paul Callan, thanks to both of you.